it's 7 a.m. It's Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1 and HD2. You're listening on 91.7 or online, kvrx.org. We've got a great week of sports to talk about. Texas football, they are back, or they say they are. We'll talk about it later. Takes down USC 37-14. Alabama, national championship, most likely. We'll preview Stanford, Oregon next week, and then we'll go on to TCU at Texas, which will be the opener for Texas in the Big 12 Conference play. MLB, Rockies hold the half-game lead over the Dodgers in the NL West. If you listened last week, I picked the Rockies to run the table and take the NL West. If the Rockies take the NL West, there's a good chance the Dodgers don't even make the playoffs. Diamondbacks 4.5 games back of the Dodgers, 4.5 games back of the Rockies. They're not making the playoffs. Week 2 NFL. Patrick Mahomes, is he the real deal? 326 yards, 23 of 28, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Looked like a Texas Tech offense this week. John Gruden and the Oakland Raiders dropped to 0-2 on the year. He's missing Khalil Mack big time right now. You got to pay the big guy, and they did not. Bears play tonight against the Seahawks. I got the Bears defense in fantasy, so I'll be rooting for them. And, of course, I'll be rooting for Michael Dixon. Texans open up 2018 campaign, and they are 0-2. Blaine Gabbert, the Titans, take down the Texans. Texans even fell for a 66-yard fake punt pass touchdown. What is happening? Where's Deshaun Watson from last season? Ties in the NFL. Not a fan. Second tie in 2 weeks. Vikings-Packers tie at 29 thanks to a terrible terrible roughing the passer call on Clay Matthews. We'll talk more about that later in the show. You're listening to Bazar Sports Radio. We'll be right back with The One. A plug for ACL Live. Support comes from ACL Live and Margin Walker presenting the Jesus Lizard with special guest suckling this Saturday, September 22nd. Tickets at acl-live.com. That's the Jesus Lizard at ACL Live this Saturday night. All right, it's time for The One. Texas football. Let's go. 34-17, convincing victory over USC. We're going to start off with the first quarter recap. Again, Texas starts off not so good in the first quarters. Started off on defense. Defense did not show. They actually look like what they did in the second half against Tulsa. They look flat. Letting the USC pound down the field. You had multiple penalties. It did not look like a clean defensive front. However, they did turn it around come the second quarter. But the first quarter for the Texas defense gave up 14 points. After that, it was hail Texas defense. We're going to hear from Silver Spurs member Jack Sard giving his take on the Longhorns defense and the win over USC.
So overall tonight, I really thought the defense stepped up, really setting the point of the attack, shedding blocks, and getting out there and making plays. And we just love to see that from a UT team, really being aggressive and going making plays. Hook 'em horns.
Making plays. Sure, they're making plays in the second half and the second quarter. 2nd and 20, you give up a first down. Are you kidding? Come on, guys. I know it's the first quarter. I know it's a long game. Got to start out strong. Coverage breakdown. Chris Boyd broke down a couple times. Tackling has to be better in the first quarter. Got it, especially with a team like TCU next week. They like to throw the ball deep, and coverage has to be a lot better. Third down drives. Again, the coverage, not good. Something has to be fixed in the first quarter. Todd Orlando, I credit that to you. After that, flying colors with the Texas defense. TCU couldn't score. However, they couldn't punt the ball either, so we can thank them for that too. Texas offense looked a lot better going forward. Let's hear what president of the Texas Silver Spurs, Alex Balzer, had to say on the offensive performance in the Texas win.
I thought this was the best our offense has looked for quite some time. Sam really came into his own. I've never seen him make such consistent, good decisions. We had that one fumble, but he protected the football well, and that was the difference in this game, in my opinion.
He's right. They did look better. They looked a lot better than they did against Tulsa. They looked a little way better than they did against Maryland. Sam Ehlinger, 15 of 33, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, an additional 55 yards on the ground, and 1 touchdown. We need to stop running the quarterback as much. I think it's a long season. Give the running backs more carries. Trey Watson, 18 carries. Push those numbers up. Daniel Young, 12 carries. Push those numbers up. Both guys are averaging over 4 yards a carry. I did like the pass first option on most of the drives for the Longhorns. First down, throw the ball. Get it to your receivers. Get it to Colin Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphreys, Andrew Beck, your tight end. Johnson, 6 catches, 79 yards. Lil Jordan Humphreys, 4 catches, 84 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Moore, 1 catch, 27 yards and a touchdown. Continue to throw the ball downfield, because the way I see it, we develop the pass game first. We're going to develop the run. We have trouble developing the run and then the pass. Play calling was a lot better this week. I've said the previous 2 weeks, I would give credit where it's due to Tim Beck if the play calling was better, because the last 2 weeks were horrendous. A lot better than what I seen in the first 2 weeks. Let's talk about USC for a second. -5 rushing yards. Strong defensive front by the Longhorns are there, holding them to -5 rush yards. Great push up front. Blocked field goal, Texas. Injury update, USC's kicker actually tore his ACL on the block kick. He is done for the year. The area USC needs to look at is their punting. To their punter, they had 2 people who punted during the game. Reed Bujovic and Chris Tilby. Bujovic averaged 35 yards a punt. Chris Tilby, 26 yards a punt. I think you know where you should go with this. 26 yards a punt. I was talking to one of my friends named Jake, and he said he could probably kick it 20 yards. He's probably right. I could too. I get it's college, different scenario, big game, big, loud environment. 26 yards a punt. That really helped the Texas offense. Starting the field in from the 50-yard and in a couple of times, that will change momentum in the game. Talking about momentum and contagious play, we're going to hear from, let's see who we're going to hear from today. We're going to hear from wide receiver Colin Johnson talks about the good play and contagious play in the win over USC.
Yeah, for sure. You see the receivers going out there. I'll make a play. LJ comes in, makes a play. Devin will make a play. Sam, it's contagious. It's very contagious. So I'm so proud of the receiver room. I'm so proud of this offense and this team in general.
Oh, he should be. Offense looked great. We're going to go away from the first quarter because the first quarter is more of an outlier. USC 14 points. It was 14-3. Texas just fired away. 34 points in a row. USC couldn't do anything. That's the kind of team we need to see against TCU. If Texas has a chance against TCU, they need to play like they did in the second, third, and fourth quarter. If not, TCU's going to run all over you. They're going to throw the ball downfield. They're going to develop the run game, and there's going to be no chance to stop them. Hey, it is Sam Ehlinger's first start against TCU. Shane Buechele actually started last year. So maybe that'll spark something else into the UT offense. It was 17-7 last year. So, and we did end up losing 24-7. You could say it was a blowout, but at one point it wasn't a blowout. And that was at their field. It's at home this year. It's Parents' Weekend. This could be the year Texas beats TCU. But if they play like they did in the first quarter, they will not. You're going to give up 14 points early to TCU. They're going to take it, run with it, and you're never going to see it again. TCU is that dangerous. It's the same thing as Oklahoma, West Virginia. So many teams in the Big 12, if you give them time to score and score early, they'll take advantage. In order to beat TCU and Texas, if you're listening, you got to go out strong. Later in the show, you'll hear from Sam Ehlinger on his thoughts of today's game. They'll come around 7:30, 7:35. So tune in until then. Just now we had Jack Sard, we had Alex Balzer, who's the president of the Texas Silver Spurs, and of course we listened to wide receiver Colin Johnson. Great win by the Texas football team this week. TCU coming up next week. We'll preview that later in the show when we hear from Sam Ehlinger. Stay tuned. Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. We are back. If you just tuned in with us and you're just coming in, we just talked about the Texas Longhorn Football win over USC this week. We'll talk more about them later in the show. Around 7:35, we'll play some interviews from Sam Ehlinger. And we'll preview the game against TCU this week. All right. Best performance this week. Alabama. I don't even think I need to say anything else. Alabama. 62-7 win. Now, I could say over some Division II school or some FCS school, but no. It's Ole Miss. Are you kidding me? You put up 62 points over Ole Miss. Not just Ole Miss, an SEC opponent. 62 points. Oh my. Is it too early to say national championship for Alabama? I don't think so. I think it's about the right time. You got two quarterbacks who could play at any school in the country. Tua, Jalen Hurts. Tua, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 11 of 15, and 191 yards. Jalen Hurts, 7 of 10, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Between the two, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That is a dangerous combination. That is dangerous. Tua ran 5 carries, 47 yards. Jalen Hurts, 4 carries, 20 yards. Of course, for their running back, Damian Harris, 5 carries, 62 yards. They had 6 guys who carried the ball for Alabama. 6. And 2 quarterbacks. It's like Kentucky for basketball a couple years ago. You had 5 starters and then 5 subs. They subbed in 5. The number 2 offense for Alabama could be the number 1 offense at most schools. This team is incredible. Credit the Alabama defense for holding Jordan Ta'amu 7 completions, 22 attempts, 1 touchdown, 2 interception, QBR of 4.9. They held Ole Miss 3.1 yards a carry. Yes, Alabama is the real deal. Now, sure, they haven't played anyone up to this point, except for Ole Miss. I mean, you could say they played Louisville, but I want to credit that. Big test this week against A&M at home. Big test meaning Alabama's probably going to roll all over them like they did against Ole Miss. A&M's nothing special. Now, I guess it's coming from a UT fan, so I don't know if you can take that as heartedly as you think. But, no, A&M's nothing special. Alabama is just a team that will roll over anyone. I'm excited to see Alabama-Georgia. Alabama-Clemson. Who knows? In the national championship game, I could see that. Right now, my picks would be Alabama and Clemson in the national championship. Both teams look darn good. Clemson has a pretty easy run to the ACC championship game. Miami's no threat. Florida State is no threat at all. 0. I said that at the beginning of the year. They're not a team that can run the table. Not looking like it either. Clemson will win the ACC. Alabama will win the SEC. Big 12, I still think it's going to be OU. I mean, Kyler Murray, he is a Heisman candidate. 21 completions to 29 attempts, 348 yards and 3 touchdowns, led the team in rushing as well with 77 yards. Kyler Murray is the real deal if you like it or not. All-American in high school in football and baseball. In both, he's thrown 8 touchdowns, 1 interception this season, 863 yards. He's also making $5 million of this offseason. His signing bonus from the Oakland A's, who drafted him number 9 in the MLB draft. That was more than the Iowa State head coach. Kyler Murray, college quarterback, making more money than the Iowa State head coach. He could get drafted this year in the NFL. Sure, he's 5'10", you could say his size, whatever. There's a chance he gets drafted. Maybe not drafted, but picked up on a roster. He could be a 2-sport athlete. I don't think he will. He's got a nice guarantee with the Oakland A's. But this is a guy who will take Oklahoma to the Big 12 championship game. They're 3-0 already, number 5 in the country. Now, some might say, the 37-27 win over Iowa State wasn't as convincing. Yeah, but Iowa State is always the team that can beat anyone. Sure, you may not have heard of any of their players, but... And no matter what their record is, playing them at Iowa State, they have the advantage. I remember, I think it was 2-3 years ago, Tyron Swoops walked onto the field, and Charlie Strong said he knew that the game was over when all the players looked at the grass and were in awe of how high it was. It's Iowa State. Anything can happen. Now, they're 0-2. I don't think anything will happen. But they're a threat. A lot of these Big 12 teams are, except for Kansas. But Kansas 2-1. How about that? Wow. Who would have thought Kansas and Texas would have the same record? Wow. Texas ends the year at Kansas. First time in a long time that they're not playing at home for Thanksgiving. We'll talk about that more when Thanksgiving approaches and what I think is the right choice and what they should do for the Thanksgiving game. But Oklahoma, Kyler Murray running the table. Heisman, I think he could. He could be in New York in December. Oklahoma, I think they could be in the college football playoff as well. Oklahoma's biggest threat right now, Texas, TCU, West Virginia. Texas, TCU, West Virginia. I'm sure you could argue multiple other teams, but Texas, TCU, West Virginia. Texas beats TCU this week, and they beat Kansas State the week after. Ho, 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 that Red River rivalry. Be a big game. College game day, possibly. If the OU's undefeated, Texas has 1 loss, and they're ranked, I don't see why not. But going back to Alabama, Alabama is going to run the table. They are going to be the national champion this year. Their team is just too good for everyone else. Too good. It's just not fair. I mean, it is fair because everyone has their chance of recruiting. To land 2 quarterbacks like that and have 2 guys who can play and be All-Americans, oh yeah. And a defense like Alabama, holding Ole Miss to 7 points. 7 points. 133 total passing yards, 248 yards. 4 of 16 on third down was Ole Miss. Only had 9 first downs. Alabama, 27. Ole Miss still forced 2 turnovers. But the biggest number, possession. Ole Miss, 25 minutes of possession. Alabama, 34. 9 more minutes of possession. It's a game changer. That is a game changer. Next week, biggest game of the week. Stanford, Oregon. Number 7 Stanford heads to Eugene to take on number 20 Oregon. Stanford coming off a win against UC Davis this week, 30-10. Beat USC last week, 17-3. Sure, Oregon has 503 yards per game. But who they played? Portland State, Bowling Green State, San Jose State. I wouldn't consider them the number 20 team in the country right now. I just don't think they deserve to be in the top 25. Why? San Diego State, Stanford played in the opening week of the year. They beat Arizona State this week. Now it's a quality win for Stanford. USC also a quality win. It's USC. They're a team that is always a threat. Sure, UC Davis, not really a big win. But Stanford at least threw one game into their non-conference schedule. Not one game, because that's conference, but they started conference play early. Oregon hasn't played anyone in their last 3. KJ Costello will win the battle over Justin Herbert. 12 touchdowns and 4 interceptions against 3 mediocre to poor teams. Nothing special. They've allowed 303 yards a game. To those offenses, really? I don't think Oregon's anything special as of now. Stanford's a good football team. Bryce Love, 40 carries, 165 yards, and a touchdown this season. He needs to turn it up. He's a Heisman contender. He's a first-round draft pick contender. $40 carries through 3 games. Pump up the carries. Show the country why he's the first-round draft pick, why he's the Heisman Trophy candidate. If you do that, you're going to beat Oregon. Oregon's allowed 20 points per game. Stanford, 7.7. Stanford with, I want to say, 2 quality games. Oregon with 0. Stanford definitely has the upper hand. I'm taking Stanford. Even on the road at Eugene, Stanford didn't come out on top. It's not as high scoring as you think it would be. Why? Well, Stanford controls the clock. They have more of a pro-style offense that you don't see as much. See a lot of spread offenses in college football. Stanford runs more of a pro style. That's why Bryce Love will be dangerous in the NFL. If you got some big offensive linemen you're running behind, NFL size, Walker Little, hailing from Episcopal High School in Houston, he could be a first-round draft pick in a couple of years. Stanford's offense is a preparation for the NFL. Christian McCaffrey, doing pretty well at Carolina. Bryce Love will be a threat in the NFL. Stanford needs to pump up his carries to defeat Oregon. If they don't, Oregon's just going to throw the ball downfield every single play, run their little trick plays, and take care of Stanford's defense. Stanford's defense also has to step up. They look darn good against USC, UC Davis. Look for Oregon to be a threat. However, Stanford will win this game. Stanford has a team for it. Stanford has a quarterback. Stanford has a running back. The offensive line, you name it. It's all Stanford. Michigan football, 45-20 win over SMU. Shea Patterson, 3 touchdowns, 237 yards, 14 of 18. They'll head to Nebraska next week. Nebraska 0-2. Ooh, Scott Frost not starting off so hot. Give him time, relax everyone. 0-2, I get it. Everyone wants... They want Nebraska to win now. Can't do it. Let him ease in. Sure, the loss to Troy was terrible. I don't know what happened there. Colorado, I respect that loss. Colorado's a good football team. McIntyre has a great program down there. That's a team that could win 10 games of the season. Playing at home against Nebraska should move the Cornhuskers to 0-3 on the year. I don't think Scott Frost has it yet to go into the big house and take down Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised, though. Actually, I would be surprised. But it wouldn't be unlike any Scott Frost program to go into a big-time school and take them down. Georgia, 49-7 win over Middle Tennessee. I'm tired of that. I don't need to talk about that. Ohio State, 40-28 win in Arlington over TCU. Dwayne Haskins doing Ohio State things, 24-38, 344 yards and 2 touchdowns. Urban Myers is back. And they are 3-0. Like I said they would, because they didn't have any competition up until TCU. I don't really want to talk about the suspension. I'm over it. I think it was ridiculous if they had him suspended for the first 3 games when they knew they were going to start out 3-0 anyways. If you're trying to really hurt them, you would have done it in the conference games. Because now Urban has Tulane coming up next week. A little tune-up game. Before heading to Penn State. It's like the season starts over again. Ohio State's 3-0, number 4 in the country right now. TCU dropped to number 20. We're 2-1 now. BYU knocked off Wisconsin, 24-21. Wisconsin at home. Ranked number 6 in the country, dropping one to BYU. Well, Wisconsin, college football playoff no more. LSU takes down Auburn 22-21 on a last-second field goal. LSU is a field goal kicker now. They haven't had one in a long time. Auburn's still a threat in the SEC. Notre Dame took care of business over a very good Vanderbilt football team. Vanderbilt moves to 2-1 on the year. They played well in South Bend. Not well enough, though. Washington, 2-1 on the year. Takes down Utah 21-7 at Utah. Jake Browning, 14-24, 155 yards and a touchdown. He wasn't the story of the game. Myles Gaskin, 30 carries, 143 yards and a touchdown. Also a Heisman contender. Penn State took down Kent State. Not surprising at all. Miles Sanders, 14 carries, 86 yards. Pump up those numbers. He's the guy in the Big Ten that has the biggest weight on his shoulder. He's got to replace Saquon Barkley. Pump up his numbers. McSorley threw for 22 times, but still, I get it's Kent State. Next week, start pumping up his numbers. Get him ready for Ohio State. Get him ready. Oklahoma State, 44-21 win over Boise State. Justice Hill, Oklahoma State's running back, 15 carries, 123 yards and a touchdown. Looking pretty good, Oklahoma State, 3-0. All home games. They have one more home game against Texas Tech before they head to a very dangerous opponent at Kansas. Just kidding. They could be 6-0 going into Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. They could be 7-0 after that game. And then their biggest opponent comes at home against Texas. They could be 7-0 playing Texas at home. Oklahoma State. I didn't give them enough credit earlier in the show. I might have to. We'll see how they play against Texas Tech. All right, you're listening to Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. We'll be back. We're going to preview Texas TCU before moving on to the MLB and the NFL. Stay tuned.
Just happy. We finally proved ourselves right. We fired off on all cylinders, played good football on both sides of the ball for a majority of the game, and just happy to see the confidence grow and everyone to understand that we can do this, and we're a really good football team and we want to be.
That was Sam Ehlinger. Let's hear another thing from Sam Ehlinger. Why not?
I think we carried a lot of momentum into the half. Ending the half with the ball, going up. We knew we had the ball back, and to set the tone in the second half, we had to do what we did. We talked about it last week, and a goal that I brought to our offense and a challenge was score on the first possession of each half. And I think we came out at both halves with an energy and a fire that we were going to attack the defense, opposed to kind of trying to feel it out and see what was going to happen.
Oh, against TCU, you better come out and attack. 'Cause if you don't, they're going to attack right back. They average 467 yards per game. They allow 317 yards a game. Texas playing at home. This is their chance to show the Big 12, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. Oh, they got to show, this is their chance to show that Texas is back. This is not going to be a cakewalk this week. TCU is a team you really never want to play at TCU. And Texas, they're playing at home. 103,000 this week were in the stands to watch USC and Texas face off in the trilogy. There better be that many this week against TCU. It better be loud and rocking. The atmosphere from the student section and all the fans, everything's got to be pumped up a notch. Sure, this isn't USC, but this is TCU. This is Big 12. Big 12 opener. Sam Ehlinger, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions so far this year. Sean Robinson for TCU, not doing much. 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Only 644 yards compared to Sam Ehlinger, 723. Pretty comparable teams. Points allowed are about the same. Points per game, though, TCU wins that one with 41.7 points per game, thanks to their 55-7 win over Southern. So I don't know if that's technically an advantage. Texas, if this is your week, Show the AP polls that you are a team to beat. You are a team that deserves to be in the top 25. If not, well, you got 12 votes this week. You're going to get 4 the next week. You're 2-1. So is TCU. You get to 3-1 going to Kansas State. You knock off Kansas State. You're 4-1. Going to Dallas for the Red River rivalry. Whew. Okay. 4 wins already. You know you're going to beat Kansas. Probably going to beat Iowa State. That's 6 wins already. After that, Texas Tech, at Oklahoma State's going to be tough. You got Baylor. That's 7. Ooh, Texas. Things are looking good for you right now. That loss to Maryland's hurting, but you beat TCU this week. Big 12 championship could be in sight. That's a stretch, but... And we can what if all day. What if, but... Hey. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, anything can happen. TCU Texas kicks off at 3:30 this week. Meaning it's probably going to be pretty hot. Unfortunately, this is not a team from the north, so you don't have the advantage. But it's going to be a hot one. And hopefully it's going to be a good one. It's going to be on Fox. If we're going to do the prediction right now, I say TCU comes out on top by 6. But as a Texas fan and someone who wants Texas to win, I'm going to say by 3. Texas wins. But no. We're going to stick to professional prediction. TCU comes out to Austin, takes down Texas by 6 points. Final score is going to be 31-25. That makes any sense. Sure. We'll say that. 31-25. Why not? I think TCU is going to put it on Texas. I would love for Texas to prove me wrong. I like proving people wrong. Let's see if Texas can prove me wrong. Play calling, continue it. 2nd through 4th quarter this week, continue that same play calling. Pass first, run second. Defense, front line, push. Coverage downfield, Chris Boyd, PJ Locke. Lockdown defense. Cameron Dicker, continue to nail those field goals. Ryan Bujewski, punting, continue to get the ball downfield like your cousin Michael Dixon. If you do that, TCU's got nothing. But as of now, TCU, for my viewpoint, is going to be 6 points ahead of Texas. Prove me wrong, Texas. With that, we're going to move to some MLB baseball. MLB baseball. NL West, like I said, Colorado Rockies. They're going to run the table, take down the Dodgers. It's just fun to say Dodgers. Brooklyn Dodgers, not anymore. LA Dodgers. Well, I know it's amazing. Run differential, Dodgers plus 146. Rockies plus 1. And they've won 82 games. Plus 1 and they've won 82 games. How? I don't know. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Dodgers 6-4 in their last 10. 3-game set at LA is going to be pretty big for the Rockies. Rockies-Dodgers begins tonight going through Wednesday. Whoever wins this series will be the NL West champion. Now, there's still more games left, but you got the momentum going forward if you take down one or the other going 2-1. And if whoever doesn't make it, whoever doesn't win the division in the NL West is not making the playoffs. You have the Central Division with the Brewers at 85 wins, who are 2.5 games behind the 87-win Cubs. And then the Cardinals, 82 wins. as well. Dodgers and Cardinals are tied at 82 wins right now. Same record. There could be 3 teams in the NL Central in the playoffs. Braves are going to win the NL East. Then we're going to go to the American League. Boston Red Sox have basically already clinched their division. They basically clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs. 103-47, 11.5 game lead over the Yankees. 11.5 game lead. And the Yankees have 91 wins. There's nothing you can do about that. That's just great baseball by the Red Sox this season. They're not slowing down either. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Yankees 4-6. Ooh, but the Rays are getting closer. They're 7-3 in their last 10. No, they're not. They're 20 games back of the Red Sox. They're not making the playoff. They got a 0.1% chance to make it. NL Central, Indians clinched after having a 15-game lead over the Twins. Astros and A's still duking it out. Stros hold a 4.5 game lead. Both teams fighting to the finish. Astros 8-2 in their last 10 on a 2-game win streak. A's 7-3 in their last 10, 2-game losing streak. Here's what's interesting. Home field advantage. For the Astros, not really. They're 52-22 on the road. 42-33 at home. Both good numbers. Road way better. Way better on the road. To me, that makes no sense. But I like it. You can win road games during the playoffs. You're going to win the World Series. If you win every road game, you will win the World Series because you'll probably get a home game win as well. Because you don't have home field advantage, especially when you play the Red Sox, if you do in the Championship Series. They're going to have home field advantage, which means more games at home for them, and you're going to be on the road. That could be a blessing that the Astros are better on the road. Because I don't think anyone's going to stop the Red Sox. I don't think the Yankees are. I don't think the Indians are. The A's are not. The only team that I think can do it is the Astros. And I'm not even sure if they can do it. However, Mookie Betts did get injured. Depending on how long he's out, that could put a halt on the Red Sox World Series run. I don't think so. Once again, it's the Red Sox. NFL. Talk about that briefly. Patrick Mahomes. Wow. 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Had himself a day. Texans not looking so good. Is it coaching? Is it quarterback play? Is it everything? Texans look like Texas against Tulsa in the second half. It's pretty comparable. They're heading into their home opener next week against the Giants. That should be a win. Giants don't look like anything special. They don't have an offensive line. 0 offensive line. Texans better take advantage of that one. J.J. Watt. Sack Central right there. Oakland Raiders 0-2. Surprising? Not really. For me, at least. You give away Khalil Mack because you don't want to pay him to get more first-round picks of that. Who, if they end up pretty good, like Khalil Mack and MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all this stuff, yeah, we're not going to pay him either. What's the point? If you're not going to pay your guys, why draft them? Why even play football if you don't want to pay your star players? That's like the Packers deciding not to pay Aaron Rodgers. He's the quarterback of your defense. Should have paid him. He paid the price. I don't think John Gruden was a good hire in the first place. He's rusty. Hasn't coached in a decade, basically. I don't like the culture there. Oakland, nothing special. You got 10 years of the guy now. That was a stupid contract. Ties in the NFL. Stop it. I don't need to see a tie. The 10-minute overtime period is a joke. Complete joke. Each team gets one full possession, and then the team who got the ball first will get the last possession. It is a waste. Sure, free football. It's like extra innings. No, it's not. First off, the Vikings-Packers tie shouldn't have even happened. That roughing the passer call, weak. Weak. Terrible call by the NFL officials. If that's roughing the passer, then every quarterback hit should be roughing the passer. He was mid-throw. A joke. Again, ties are a joke. I don't see the point. Play till the end. You can get rid of the time clock and say first team that scored a touchdown. Or have multiple overtime periods. Or even 2 overtime periods of 15 minutes each. Because that most likely will not end in a tie. But 10 minutes, are you kidding? I would say like hockey, put shootouts in, but there's nothing really to shoot out. Except if you have kickers like Cleveland and the Vikings, you might have a kicking shootout because nobody can make a field goal. Get rid of the ties. We'll be right back. Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1, HD2. See you in a second. Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1, HD2. You're listening on FM 91.7 or online, KVRX.org. It's been a good one today. Texas Longhorns brought home the win over USC, 34-14. I'm sorry, 37-14. Can't get the numbers right. Are the Horns back? We'll see. TCU at home this week will be a big one. Alabama, national championship. I think yes. Stanford, Oregon. Stanford takes home the win. And again, like I said, TCU, Texas will be a big one this week. Rockies hold a half-game lead over the Dodgers. Rockies going to take home the NL West. That's my prediction. You heard it here first. Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. Give him some time. Week 8, if he's doing the same thing he's been doing the last 2 weeks, week 8 I'll say, okay, he's the real deal. John Gruden, miss hit. 0-2 right now. No Khalil Mack. A lot of coaching problems. 10 years there, mistake. What a mistake. Texans 0-2 on the year so far. Not opening off right. Did not like what I saw to the Texans in the first half and the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they turned it up a notch. Bad coaching, bad quarterback play on the last play of the game. They could have had a field goal. They had 17 seconds left and ran one play. Couldn't get to the sideline. Ties in the NFL? I think not. Get rid of them. Nobody wants to see it. Browns are 0-1-1, so they didn't lose their first game of the season, but they didn't win it either. Ties like kissing your sister. I don't want to see it. I don't even like it in soccer. Play it out. Why not? Even if it's shootouts in soccer, play it out. But still, football? Nah. It's football. Play it out. Play it out. It's time that the NFL plays it out. This is Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1, HD2. We'll see you next week, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Have a good one.